Hello and welcome to another Mr. Carter Science Special. Don't forget to support the channel by liking and subscribing to these videos. In today's video we're going to be looking at vaccines and how vaccines can create an artificial immunity. As you should have seen in one of my previous videos on immunity, immunity to a pathogen can be created naturally when you get an infection through the primary and secondary immune responses. Unfortunately, with this style of immunity, you will get ill. The pathogen will have entered your body and will have damaged your tissues and your organs, sometimes permanently. In the most severe of cases, the pathogen can also kill you before your body is able to react and destroy the pathogen safely. Luckily, immunity to a pathogen can be created using a vaccine. A vaccine is an injection of dead or inactive pathogens. This must include the foreign antigens. The lymphocyte can then recognize the antigen on the dead or inactive pathogen and produce antibodies and memory lymphocyte cells, and these will keep you safe from disease in the future. Here in this picture you can see somebody who has contracted measles, and this girl who is having the vaccination against measles in the triple dose MMR vaccine shown in this picture here. The little girl will not contract the measles disease and will be kept safe from any damage that measles may cause. So vaccines are used to create an artificial immunity. As we've already said, a vaccine is an injection of a dead or altered pathogen, and these cannot cause the disease, but they still have the same antigen as the active pathogen. Lymphocytes will recognize the antigen, produce antibodies and memory cells. And if a person comes into contact with the real pathogen, their memory cells will produce antibodies faster and in greater quantities than if the person had not been vaccinated. And this will create a secondary immune response, destroying the pathogen before it can cause any harm. So what different styles of vaccines are there? Well, the vaccine you receive may contain a weakened form of the pathogen, for example the polio, tuberculosis or measles vaccines. The vaccine may contain a dead microorganism, for example the vaccines to typhoid or whooping cough. The vaccine may contain a modified toxin, for example the tetanus or the diphtheria vaccines. The vaccine may contain only antigens, for example the vaccine to the influenza diseases and the influenza virus. Vaccines may also contain harmless bacteria that have been genetically engineered to carry the antigen of different disease-causing microbes. For example, hepatitis B vaccine. More recently, with the advent of COVID-19, some of the COVID-19 vaccines you may be familiar with come under our first strain, where they show us and provide weakened forms of the COVID-19 pathogen. However, there is one new system that vaccines may contain, and that they may contain the mRNA molecule, which will then travel to your ribosomes within your cells and act as a template to create the antibodies that your cells need to make to destroy the pathogen. How successful have vaccines been? We'll just pause the video for a moment and take a moment to look at this graph here. This graph shows several different things. On the left hand side we've got the number of cases of measles, and that's shown in the green line. On the right hand side we have a percentage of children who have been vaccinated, and that is shown in the red line. And we're looking at data from 1980 all the way to 2009. And this graph clearly shows that as the percentage of vaccinated people has increased, the number of cases of measles has decreased. And this is due to the success of vaccines in protecting individuals, and also a herd immunity being created in the population to protect vulnerable members of society who cannot take the vaccine. People who are being immunocompromised, perhaps due to illnesses like HIV, people who have had transplants and have had to take immunosuppressant drugs, or most importantly, newborn babies whose immune systems haven't matured enough yet to be able to cope with any pathogenic diseases. I find this particular meme here quite important. Do you remember the time you got measles or polio, paralysed and died? No, because your parents got vaccinated. It's important to remember currently that we, particularly in Western societies, are often unfamiliar with many of these deadly diseases and childhood diseases. We have forgotten what the effects they've had on society and on individuals, and that's due to the success of vaccinations. So let me give you a brief reminder of some childhood diseases. The first disease is measles, and you can see here this child has the classic rash of somebody who has measles. Now, if you contract the measles virus, 1 in 2,500 to 5,000 people will die. This disease can and does kill people. 1 in 100 people will be admitted to hospital, and 1 in 1,000 people will contract a secondary infection known as meningitis, which is caused by a virus and can kill within 12 hours. The second disease on our list is known as mumps. Mumps has had a resurgence in the UK due to a large number of people who did not receive the MMR vaccine when they were children. Particularly, we're seeing cases of this now with young adults who are heading off to universities and are spreading the disease through social contact. If you contract mumps, 1 in 25 cases will result in deafness. This usually is part or with a complete recovery, but even if you only partly recover your hearing, you still will experience an audio loss for the rest of your life. Possibly the most important disease on this list is rubella, also known as German measles, because it has a similar rash to the measles rash. If you contract rubella, 1 in 3,000 people will receive a bleeding disorder. However, more importantly, if you are a pregnant woman who contracts rubella and the virus passes to your unborn fetus in the uterus, then the baby infected with rubella in the uterus can suffer deafness, blindness, heart problems and brain damage. It is incredibly important that ladies are vaccinated with rubella before they become sexually active and before they plan to start families. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Don't forget to support the channel by liking and subscribing so that you get notifications of the new content as and when I make the videos. I'm really interested to see what you've learned from this video, so don't forget to comment below and I'll read all the comments. Thank you very much for watching.